Joining us now to talk about your health is Michael Reavis, clinical dietitian with the University of Maryland Medical Center. Sir, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to talk about nutrition this time of year. I know it's something that a lot of people have questions about, so I'm happy to help.
Well, let's start with what can go wrong. When we talk about holiday eating, big Thanksgiving dinner, from your standpoint, what do you worry about?
There's a couple things. One, first and foremost, I mean, it's a day dedicated to eating, which means there's going to be a lot of instances of choice. What can we make? And also, it's a celebration. We want to leave the end of the day knowing it was an exciting day and something we were joyful for. But with a lot of food and trying to leave the day joyful, sometimes that can lead with too much food in our stomach, an upset stomach, and not leaving the day feeling the best. So definitely volume. And then, there's a couple other things that could go into it, whether we're talking food safety or a number of other things.
Well, let's start with the dietary standpoint. We'll talk about over drinking a little bit
Yeah,
too coming up. But if somebody's actively dieting, either for weight loss
absolutely.
or sports nutrition or some other purpose, can you take a holiday for a big holiday?
Yeah, that is an excellent question. And I mean, I think it kind of goes back to the point of nutrition isn't always just about food in and energy and calories, these things. There is a celebration to it. So I do think it's important to take the holiday, but go into it with a sense of mindfulness. Kind of know that, there are things that you can do to set yourself up for success. And a lot of the food that's going to be on the Thanksgiving table is nutrient dense and healthy food. So you can have your holiday and keep it balanced as well.
Does it make sense to sort of bank some calories by, skip breakfast, skip lunch with the idea that you're going to pig out at dinner? Do you like that idea or no?
So I don't love that idea, but I think there is a piece of that that you can use really effectively. And that is one, when we're trying to bank calories, we're really letting our body sit there with the hormones that it has in place to kind of dictate hunger. And it keeps screaming, I need to eat, I need to eat, I need to eat. And then you get to the final meal and it's like, blow the doors down, let's go for it. So you can bank calories without saying just not eating. And what I like to think of that is my breakfast in the morning needs to have a lot of fiber and some protein in it as well. I love to start with an omelet with vegetables and maybe some fruit on the side. And then typically in Thanksgiving, we're having snacks middle of the day and these kind of things. It's a great time to lean into some of the appetizers, having a lot of volume, but maybe not a lot of calories. So once again, doing some veggies with some kind of dip or having something in the middle of the day. So when we get to that meal, we can really enjoy it, but our body isn't screaming to eat, which can kind of lead to that overeating.
Well, let's focus on the traditional Thanksgiving dinner, which, as you
Absolutely.
mentioned, has some nutritionally dense elements
Absolutely.
to
Yep.
that
You
meal.
caught that. Great.
Are there alternatives that you'd like people to maybe consider?
So yeah, I mean, I think right in the middle you have your centerpiece of the turkey or whatever protein you've chosen. There's really not too much that you can change there. But when you start to look at the sides, we can really start to make some changes that do have some benefit. So, for example, if you are all about the carbohydrates at the meal, that might be a point of having one that is maybe your favorite, like the mac and cheese, and usually people are making two. Maybe one is more of like a big sweet potato or something along those lines. And I know a lot of families will have green bean casserole or some kind of vegetable of some kind there. Maybe it's saying like, hey, one is more of the casserole type and the other is, we're just doing some roasted Brussels sprouts or some kind of roasted vegetable, one that really leans into that fiber side of things.
I love the Thanksgiving meal, but also find for some reason that I tend not to go back for seconds. I don't know
Yeah.
why that is. I mean, maybe it's the knowledge that there's a pie waiting for me or
I was
something.
going to say probably that.
There's some meals where I can't help myself but have seconds. Tends to be like Chinese food with a lot of
Yeah.
fat, a lot of salt. You get hooked on it. Thanksgiving dinner, I sort of like the meal. I mean, on the list of evils out there,
Yeah.
um, the Norman Rockwell Thanksgiving dinner. How does that rate for you?
I mean, if you really break it down, and as I said, like there's a lot of nutrient dense foods in this meal. Like you are leaning into vegetables, you're leaning into mostly like potatoes and these kind of carbohydrates that do have a little bit of fiber, as well as some protein. And I think also there is a satisfaction of it. A lot of times when we go back for seconds, it's because maybe that first part of the meal didn't do it first, didn't hit that more psychological aspect of eating. Whereas Thanksgiving, we really get excited. There's that buildup. There's that, ooh, my plate in front of me. And I think that can kind of, for lack of a better word, scratch that itch of, oh, this was a very satisfying meal. But I do agree, probably a little bit behind it is there's something exciting after dinner, and we don't always allow ourselves that as well.
Let's talk about the alcohol part of it.
Yeah.
Most people, there's a lot of sports on TV. Um, depending on the table situation, there may be some wine. People are probably going to have more to drink than they will on a normal Thursday. Just talk
Yeah.
about the nutrition side of that, which we don't often think about.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of us will go through our day and our life thinking, liquids, how much energy can they really have? We kind of know that food more so has that. And, alcohol, just like all other parts of nutrition, does have calories. And when we're looking at, wine, for example, there might be some sugar in there. Beer does have some marginal aspect of carbohydrate. But realistically speaking, it is probably going to be if we start having more mixed drinks of some kind, where we're adding in a lot of extra energy to it. And then not only is it the calories in the vessel itself, but we've also got to keep in mind alcohol does interfere with our body's ability to break down fat and to kind of dictate how hungry it is. So also the alcohol can have that effect of maybe not realizing we're as full as we are. So paying attention to that of, okay, I may allow myself to have something to drink, but I do have to be cognizant of my choices after as well. And that's really where, as we talked about before, that fiber and protein goal can really help kind of set the tone for that as well.
Any tips on saying no, either to
Yeah.
you're at an event and you keep getting offered stuff, and whether it's an alcoholic drink or it's your third dessert or something, how politely how do you decline?
Yeah, that's not an easy thing to do for any of us. Definitely with the holiday, there is that societal pressure to enjoy everything, or your loved one spent a lot of time making something. You don't want to be the one to say, I can't. But, I think there's always ways to do it where we can say, I've had such a wonderful meal and such a wonderful day. Like, anymore and I'm not going to enjoy it as much. Or I would love to maybe take some home with me. There's ways to show appreciation without having it right in that moment. And, it's a day of thanks. And I think, most of us want to be told we did a great job, especially the cook. So there are exactly as I said, hey, I'm excited to have this tomorrow. I can't wait for it, or something along those lines.
That's great advice. I mean, but say somebody overindulges, they
Yeah.
fall off the wagon a little bit. How do you deal the next day with the guilt of that and the feeling that you messed up what you've been working on so hard, and get back on the wagon, so to speak?
Yeah, we've got to put nutrition at its simplest parts, which is it is energy. That means going into that next day, we have a surplus of energy. And maybe there's something we can go do with that. Maybe it's a beautiful morning and we take our dog or our loved ones and let's go for a walk. Or, maybe it's a wonderful day to go to that park we've been meaning to, especially if we have the day off work. And, if we do have to go to work that next day, we say, all right, I'm going to reset. I'm going to have a breakfast that I know is something that is health forward, and make that time for some kind of movement or some board games or something along those lines later in that day.
Holidays, of course, can often be stressful for a lot of
Yeah.
people. Talk about the concept of stress eating, which
Yeah.
is maybe focused on all different kinds of stress, workplace stress, whatever's going on in your life, and it makes the bag of chips irresistible somehow, right? I mean,
Yeah.
how do you deal with that?
That's very challenging. And, especially with stress eating, it is kind of a culprit of our brain has a lot of things going on it. And the brain is one of the major organs that requires a lot of energy. So, in sometimes it is true a need for energy, but often it is us trying to find something that solves the stress without solving the stress. So, in that, I like to try and take maybe that thought and turn it into something else. Say, you know what? I've already eaten my dinner. Let's go and do something productive, something else that excites me. Maybe it is, hey, let's take 5 minutes, read a book, go for a walk, turn that stress into something that we're going to enjoy. And usually we notice that when we take our mind off the stress, it actually starts to help relieve it and it doesn't come back as easy as well. So in those stressful moments, I say find something that you really want to do that isn't centered around maybe the table or eating in that.
Well, what is the concept of comfort foods
Yeah.
mean to a dietitian? Is that like the flip side of stress eating? What you're looking for is comfort foods?
So yeah, you're looking for those foods that either have, some level of nostalgia, some personal enjoyment, or often something that, we know we can have a lot of and, could fill that void. So comfort foods also too, we might be looking for something warm. Often a warm beverage can really solve, that middle ground. And, we're getting to that colder time of year where these things can be something we really enjoy and look forward to. So, I would say maybe in comfort food. A lot of the Thanksgiving meal will be that. So maybe we find like a warm beverage to end the day of some kind with.
When you're not talking about holiday eating, what does a clinical dietitian focus on? What's most of
Yeah,
your what are most of your clients interested in?
absolutely. I mean, the field of nutrition is such a diverse field. We have everything from weight management to, sports and all of these things, but specific to the clinical setting, we are assessing patients in the hospital and checking for any malnutrition or disease states that have a nutritional relevance, such as chronic kidney disease, diabetes, and these kind of things, and ensuring in our toughest moments in the hospital, we're being fed the energy that is going to help nourish and recover our body, really focused on that, you know, getting out of the hospital and getting back to quality of life. And then also making sure that, if we can't take food by mouth, we are calculating what we can do in terms of tube feeds or parenteral nutrition, things to make sure that the body gets the energy when it is at its sickest.
Michael Reavis is a clinical dietitian with University of Maryland Medical Center. Michael, happy holidays. Thanks for
Happy
joining
holidays,
us.
everyone. Thank you.